The kitchen light flickered once before settling. A cold hum from the refrigerator filled the silence, and the smell of leftover curry still lingered in the air. I stood barefoot, arms folded tightly, the tile cold against my feet. I was thinking of how to tell him, how to admit something I couldn't even say to myself without flinching. Then came the slam. One moment I was replaying conversations in my head. The next, my brother's hands were on my shoulders, and I was airborne for less than a breath before my back crashed into the fridge door. The noise was thunderous, metal skin bone. His face was inches from mine, his breathing erratic, like something inside him had broken loose. "What the hell did you say?" he spat, eyes red with fury. I couldn't even answer. My thoughts scattered like birds under gunfire. My body curled instinctively, and I braced for something I hoped wouldn't come, but it did. His knee surged upward into my face, with the kind of force that didn't feel human. A crack. A white flash. A searing pain that made time halt. I collapsed to the floor, blood spilling from my nose like it was being wrung out of me. It soaked the collar of my hoodie hot and fast. My ears rang. My vision blurred. I remember the trembling more than the pain, the way my body couldn't stop shaking. It wasn't just from the injury. It was from everything. He stared at me like I wasn't even real, like I was a threat or a ghost. And then he backed away fast, his chest heaving, like he was horrified by what he'd done. But it wasn't just about what he'd done. It was about why. The betrayal didn't start with violence. It started with a secret. A confession whispered in the dark. I hadn't meant to fall for her, not really. She was his girlfriend, his everything. And I was just me, his brother. The one who always stood in his shadow. The one who listened to him talk about her like she was sacred, something he'd never deserved but somehow claimed anyway. Her name was Mara. She was delicate and sharp at once. The kind of girl who made silence feel warm. Who laughed at the things you didn't think were funny until she did. The kind of girl who looked at you when she thought no one else was watching. She and I got close slowly, accidentally. It started with shared glances, then with shared secrets. One night, he'd passed out drunk in the living room after a fight with her, and I found her crying on the porch. I sat beside her without saying anything for a while. I remember the way her hands trembled in her lap, the way she wiped her tears with the sleeves of the hoodie she borrowed from him. "I don't think he sees me anymore," she said, eyes fixed on the night sky. "I think he's in love with the idea of me, not who I actually am." I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. That became our rhythm. Quiet moments, whispered truths, an emotional intimacy that tiptoed too close to something forbidden. The night it happened, it was raining. She came over looking for him, but he wasn't home. She waited. An hour turned into 2. And by then we were sitting on the couch, a movie playing but neither of us watching. I don't remember who leaned in first, or if it was even a choice. Our lips met like it had been waiting to happen. We didn't sleep together that night, but it didn't matter. What we did was enough to set the fuse. We both knew the line we'd crossed. I told her it couldn't happen again. She nodded, but her eyes said otherwise. The guilt ate at me like rust. Every time I saw my brother smile, every time he mentioned her, every time I heard her name in his mouth, I wanted to confess. But I also wanted to run. I didn't know which urge would win. And then he found out. I don't know how, if she told him, or if he just knew. But that night in the kitchen, he looked at me like I had murdered something precious. And maybe I had. After he hit me, he didn't say a word. Just turned around and walked out the front door. The echo of it closing felt heavier than anything he'd done to my body. I didn't call the police. I didn't go to the hospital. I sat on the floor, legs folded under me, bleeding and shaking and holding my own ribcage like I could keep myself from falling apart. 3 days passed before I saw her again. She came to the apartment looking like she hadn't slept. Her eyes widened when she saw the bruises, the bandage on my nose, the gauze under my lip. She reached for me, but I flinched, and she recoiled like I'd struck her. "I didn't tell him," she said softly. "I don't care." She stood there in silence, her arms wrapped around herself. I thought I could control it. What I felt. I looked up at her, eyes bloodshot. "You think this was about feelings?" She opened her mouth to speak but closed it again. Her silence said more than anything she could have uttered. We didn't just hurt him, I said. We destroyed something. And maybe I deserved what happened. Maybe we both did. Her voice cracked when she said, "He doesn't want me anymore. Not after this." I didn't respond. What was there to say? We both made choices. And we both lost someone. My brother moved out 2 weeks later. Said he was going to stay with our dad. No goodbyes. No final punches. Just gone. I see him sometimes through social media or mutual friends, but we haven't spoken since that night. He blocked my number. I didn't fight it. I wouldn't know what to say if I got the chance anyway. As for Mara, we drifted like smoke. No fire left, just the residual heat of something once burning. I haven't seen her in months. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, the memory of his knee colliding with my face still fresh in my mind. But worse than that pain is the one in my chest. The one that reminds me I crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. I didn't just lose my brother. I lost the version of myself that believed I was better than this. And no apology will ever be enough to bring that version back. If you'd like an alternate version with different tone, POV, or more depth to a specific part, e.g. Mara's role or aftermath, just let me know.